Hi, my name is Jan Reichbart. This is my project 2 for English 3010. My research question was, how do financial managers handle negative external factors when it comes to client investments? Some examples of external factors are any big changes in political positions, such as elections or government decisions that have a widespread impact on a lot of people. These are often policy changes that can have a big impact on the stock market. Something else that can have an impact on the stock market is war, as we see right now happening with Russia and Ukraine. This is something that causes uncertainty, and the stock market is based on investor confidence. So when something like a war happens and confidence is lowered, stock values go down. Another thing that has an impact, typically negative impact, is climate change as well as disease. So climate change like the fires in California, and disease, especially like the pandemic that we've been seeing the past couple of years with COVID. This can not only change the value of certain stocks, but also it can change like the way that people like travel and things like that. So for example, Delta Airlines stock, they lost about 60% of their value in March of 2020 and still has not fully recovered. So it just shows that these things can have kind of long lasting effects on the stock market and investments. So how do financial advisors prepare? So the first thing is just to verify credibility of all documents. This is kind of like a baseline thing. Any fake documents means that you can get sued. And then probably the bigger thing, the more important thing is to prepare your client with realistic expectations in terms of return as well as risk. So with return, some clients, they expect a lot and it's just not realistic. They expect that they're going to be making like 15, 20, 30% on their money like every year. And that's just not the way that things work. You can't just do that 100% of the time. So to make sure that there's a communication kind of between the client and the financial advisor about what a realistic rate of return would be, maybe 10% or 8% or 6% if we're going to be more conservative. So communication is a very big thing. CFP, which is Certified Financial Planners. It's like a certification that you can get. You can see the certificate right here, but they're prohibited from disclosing non-public personal information through confidentiality agreements. So the same way that lawyers kind of have the attorney-client privilege, this is kind of replicated through confidentiality agreements. So this allows clients to feel a bit more comfortable with working with their advisors. And more importantly, they won't hide, or they shouldn't hide things that may be like considered embarrassing. So maybe they are like cheating on their wife or something, so they're spending extra money, or maybe they are doing something illegal and it's like a higher risk. So being able to talk about this is important when managing finances, because if something like this isn't discussed, it can have an effect later on down the line when it becomes important, if something were to happen. In addition, mistaken client expectations are often a result of poor communication. So making sure that right from the start, there's a high level of communication so that you and the client are both on the same page about what is happening and what's going to happen. In addition, adopting a variety of communication styles is very important. This is something that I learned in my diversity class that I'm taking at Wayne State. When you're working with people of different ages, so let's say you have someone who's in their 60s and someone who's in their like 20s, and they are both clients for you, and you are managing their investments, you're probably not going to be contacting them necessarily in the same way. Maybe the older person is less comfortable with technology, and so I'm not sure, maybe they just use email because that's the only thing they know how to do, and then you can just text the other person because it's just easier for them. So just having a variety of communication styles that works for every different client is very important. Furthermore, there are legal risks as well as protections. So one of the biggest things is for both the financial advisor and the client, understanding that with investing, there's always risk and the goal is minimizing it. In addition, financial advisors can get something called errors and omission insurance, which protects them from claims of negligence or lack of regulatory compliance that your clients may bring against you. So any claims that they have that you didn't do your job correctly or you made mistakes anywhere, Whether you did or you didn't, this insurance is going to protect you. So it's important that you have it. The CFPB database is a database where pretty much if a client feels that they were lied to or misled in any way, or they were wronged in any way, they can go make a complaint here. And then you have 15 days to respond to it and settle it with the client, whether through an explanation, through pay the money, or some sort of other agreement that has to be reached within 15 days. If not, the client can take further legal action. And the importance of contracts. If you do go to court, which is inevitable and it will end up happening, ideally not, but contracts are kind of what's going to save you. So by having that signed contract from both parties detailing exactly the risks and the like who is liable and more importantly who is not liable, if that's signed right from the beginning and everything is clear between both parties, you're pretty much protected. I mean, they can't really do much unless they prove that somehow the contract isn't valid, but not very easy to do. So the client or the contract is what's going to save you there. So making sure that you have that. And then here's kind of the overview of financial advisors dealing with unhappy customers. So portfolio managers, they have to follow the regulations. That's absolutely very important. Making sure that they're checking that database and staying up to date on that. Having specific benchmarks that you're confident that you can achieve, but also your client feels comfortable with. And this is achieved through communication. Like I said earlier, communication is very important. This is what's going to allow you and your client to stay on the same page and have a successful relationship together. Making sure that you're straightforward from the start so clients can't say you lied to them. Taking the time to properly inform your clients of their risks and the benefits and the risks of every decision that's made. Not that you make, but that kind of you make with them. So kind of understanding what could go wrong and that sort of thing. So taking the time to educate them, as well as something that isn't implemented right now that would be helpful would be to have kind of a more widespread financial education sort of system in like schools or even outside of schools, just a way for more people to understand kind of the realistic expectations from investing. Because a lot of people have mistaken expectations because they hear things from their friend who are like, oh, this one person made a lot of money, so I should be able to do that too. And so they hear that and they think that any financial advisor can just make them a lot of money automatically. But that's not really the case, and it's more of a slower process. So that is how they would manage this type of thing. And here am I works cited. So thank you.